If everything goes as planned, 2023 will be by far the biggest release year for the DCEU, or now called the DCEU ever, with 4 theatrical releases, and on top of that, 4 animated movies will be released as well, half of which will be set in the current DC animated movie universe franchise, the Tomorrowverse. I say if everything goes as planned because all of the live-action movies coming out next year either were delayed like 4 or 5 different times, or had an adjustment to their release platform, but all of them have had some sort of adjustment. So in this video, I'll be going over every DC movie that's coming out in 2023, including the 4 live-action theatrical releases, and the 4 straight-to-DVD or straight-to-streaming animated movies. So make sure to leave a like, share, and subscribe, and let's begin. The first DC movie of the year, Legion of Superheroes, is the 6th movie in the Tomorrowverse, and the first ever Legion of Superheroes movie. There's been an animated TV show, but there's never been a movie dedicated to this group, and the movie releases on February 7th, 2023. A trailer was released alongside a poster which confirms Supergirl to be the main character, who's sent to the future to train with the Legion after Batman deems her to be too reckless for someone with her powers. In the future, a lot of the Legion is missing or considered dead, like the founding members Saturn Girl, Lightning Lad, Cosmic Boy, as well as Pharaoh Lad and Censor Girl, and the Legionnaires that are mostly focused on are Brainiac 5, Mon-El, Bouncing Boy, Duplicate Girl, Dawnstar, and Phantom Girl, as they are the ones that are on the poster. Interestingly, the main characters who are on the poster, the ones who are most prominently shown, are Supergirl, Brainiac 5, and Mon-El, which are also the 3 characters who had the largest role on the CW show Supergirl, so that's probably why they're so prominently shown in the poster and also in the movie itself, because they're just the most well-known with general audiences who've seen live-action DC content. Other Legionnaires we see in the trailer include Timberwolf, Arm Fall Off Boy, Shadow Lass, Invisible Kid, possibly Dream Girl, and possibly Block, alongside Justice Leaguers Batman, Superman, and The Flash. Villains that we see in the trailer include Brainiacs 2 through 4, or at least those have been confirmed to be appearing in the movie, as well as Solomon Grundy, who is a villain in the present day. A little bit over a month later, Shazam! Fury of the Gods will finally release on its 6th official release date, March 17th, 2023. It was originally going to be released as an April Fool's joke, I guessed, April 1st, 2022, but I guess the April Fool's joke is that there is no Shazam movie being released then, but actually basically an entire year later. It was delayed to November 4th, 2022, then to June 2nd, 2023, then back to December 16th, 2022, and then pushed back a week to December 21st, 2022, before finally getting what seems to be its final release date, March 17th, 2023. The movie has gotten several trailers already, which shows off the Shazam family's new suits, which look a lot better than they did in the last movie, as well as the main plot of the story, which seems to be focusing on Billy feeling not special due to all of his family also being superheroes, while also the daughters of Atlas cause some trouble and are the main villains. These characters, named Anthea, Hespero, and Calypso, are original villains not in the comics at all, and The Fury of the Gods is the first DCU movie with original villains, which I absolutely hate. Shazam has an entire trilogy worth of villains to use: Dr. Savannah, Black Adam, and Mr. Mind, the latter of which was actually set up in a post-credit scene from Shazam, so why aren't we using him? Regardless, the first movie was great. I absolutely loved it. It was hilarious. The costumes look sick. So while this movie I don't think is doing as much as it should in terms of introducing more of Shazam's rogues gallery, it will probably be good regardless. 2023 is the year that The Flash finally gets his very first solo movie, but it's crazy that it took this long, not only because The Flash is one of DC's most popular heroes, and Marvel gave a Shang-Chi movie before DC gave a movie to The Flash, but also because this individual movie was originally set for a March 23rd, 2018 release date, over 5 years before it would eventually come out. The movie went through development hell, including losing its director multiple times, and it wasn't until November 2019 that the current director, Andy Muschietti, was finally brought on. The new release date was July 1st, 2022, and it was even pushed up another month to June 3rd, 2022, but then it was pushed back to November 4th, 2022 due to the pandemic, before finally being given the final June 23rd, 2023 release date. And now that it's out of development hell and it's in post-production, it's being released, it still has its issues, mostly due to Ezra Miller being the lead. Not only do I consider them to be poorly cast, and I consider that Barry Allen to be a bad adaptation, but also Ezra Miller is getting into a lot of trouble, legal or otherwise, and they couldn't just shelve the movie like they did with Batgirl because it costs like 5 times as much, so they couldn't just leave it alone due to the actor being as problematic as he is. Nobody wants Ezra Miller to return. But for this movie, they are there. But a trailer was released, and apparently test screen runs have been overwhelmingly positive, so that's definitely really good. The movie's plot is inspired by Flashpoint, with Barry time traveling to save his mother, but it seems like instead of creating an alternate timeline, he'll be traveling to alternate timelines like Michael Keaton's Batverse, which according to the RWBY is Earth 89, a version of Supergirl who looks a lot more like Superman's daughter than Kara Zor-El will appear, and an alternate universe version of Barry Allen will appear as well, possibly as the main villain. This alternate version of Barry Allen will wear an improvised Flash suit, which is basically a repurposed Keaton Batman suit, which makes me think that he'll be based off of or inspired by the Red Death, but we don't know and we won't until either the movie releases or we get another trailer. August 18th, 2023 will see the release of Blue Beetle, which will focus on the third and probably most popular version, Jaime Reyes, who will be played by Xolo Maridueña from Cobra Kai, which was easily the most popular fan casting for the role, and he seems perfect. The movie was originally going to come out on HBO Max, so unlike the other DCU movies of this year, it didn't get a release delay, but it did get an adjustment to its release platform, as instead of coming out on HBO Max, it's coming out theatrically. Other HBO Max movies weren't so lucky. Batgirl was shelved and Wonder Twins was never made, but Blue Beetle was actually upgraded to the theatrical release. No trailers have been released yet, but what we have seen from this movie, it looks pretty great. Xolo, like I said, is perfect for the role. The concept art looked sick, and the Blue Beetle suit looks incredible in set photos. So just imagine how good it'll look in action, enhanced with some CGI, for the extra adjustments to the design, but also for the movements that wouldn't be possible in a practical suit. Cord Industries was also seen in the concept art, and we know an original character named Victoria Cord will appear as a villain. I'm assuming that Ted Cord is already dead in this universe, or maybe he'll appear briefly and die in the movie itself, or maybe he'll only be seemingly dead and then he'll be revealed to be alive, the latter of which is I think the one I want to see the most, because it'd be a shame for us to get a universe with maybe a Booster Gold in the future, but Ted Cord never appears. But like Fury of the Gods, I'm not thrilled about the original villain, as while there aren't many out there, there are a few Blue Beetle enemies to choose from, but at the same time, I'm assuming that Victoria Cord will not entirely be an original villain, as she'll act as a gender-bent version of Jarvis Cord, who's Ted's evil uncle. Regardless of all of this, I'm definitely excited for this movie. I love Blue Beetle, I loved him in Young Justice and in Batman Brave and the Bold, and I'm glad he's finally getting his own movie. The final DCU movie of the year, and what's almost certainly going to be the last release for DC of that year, is the long-awaited sequel to Aquaman, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, coming out 5 years later. I'm mentioning it before the other movies because we don't have a release date for those other movies, but I'm just going to assume that this will be the last movie of the year. This movie went through a huge 1-year delay, as it was originally going to release basically around now as I'm releasing this video, on December 16th, 2022. It was then delayed to March 17th, which is now Shazam's release date, and then all the way to December 25th, Christmas 2023, which is over an entire year of delay from its original release date, and I think the only reason for that is because they wanted to spread out the releases. I'm pretty sure they could release the movie right now. I'm pretty sure it's completely finished. This movie, like The Flash, has its own actor problems, as Amber Heard, who plays Mera, is practically the most hated actor in the world right now, but apparently she was never going to have a large role anyway, and her small-ish role was made even smaller. I think that if they did have a big role, maybe she should have been completely recast. If she's not like the main actor, it wouldn't have been as drastic. The movie has been described as a buddy comedy movie focusing on Aquaman and Ocean Master, and while we don't know what the Lost Kingdom is referring to, and we don't know who the main villain will be, I'm assuming it's going to be Black Manta, as that just seems to be the most likely option. It was set up in the end credit scene, and he's the only other big Aquaman villain, and he wasn't the main villain of the first one. Both this movie and Fury of the Gods, however, don't really seem to be doing anything special or anything new as sequels compared to the first movies. And neither of these movies seem to be introducing any new characters from these characters' respective worlds. Fury of the Gods is basically just going to be doing the same thing. It's not expanding anything on the Shazam world, and it really needed Black Adam or Mr. Mind as the main villain, and Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom seems to be just using the same villains from the first movie, Ocean Master and Black Manta, and this would have been a really good opportunity to introduce a version of Aqualad. That being said, I did really like the first two movies, Aquaman and Shazam. I guess I'm just cautious about DCU sequels, especially when they don't look as good as the originals, because Wonder Woman 1984 exists, and it's terrible. The seventh movie in the Tomorrowverse, and the first Justice League movie in this universe, is Justice League Warworld, which will come out sometime in 2023. We don't have a release date yet, but if I were to guess, it'd be in the second half of the year, so in between The Flash and Aquaman. This movie will almost certainly not be an origin story, unless it takes place before Green Lantern Beware My Power and is a prequel to that, because by that point in the universe and in that movie, the Justice League have already formed, and have already even gotten some new recruits like Vixen and Jon Stewart. I'd say they probably didn't want to make yet another origin story Justice League movie, considering the 2010s effectively gave us 3 of them in Justice League War, and the 2 versions of Justice League, which together is like 7 hours of origin story Justice League content. We don't really know anything about the movie, but just going based off the title, we can assume that Mongol, the leader of Warworld, will be the main villain, and the movie will take place mostly on Warworld, and all the confirmed Justice Leaguers of this universe will be appearing, which include Superman, Batman, The Flash, Jon Stewart, Martian Manhunter, Green Arrow, and Vixen, plus Wonder Woman, who's been mentioned, and Hawkgirl, who isn't a member of the League yet, but probably will be by the time this movie comes out, or maybe in the movie itself. Plus, maybe Supergirl as well. The only core and original member of the Justice League who hasn't been mentioned at all in this universe is Aquaman. We did see his Earth 2 counterpart, but Aquaman on Earth 1 has yet to be mentioned and has yet to appear. But also, it's very possible he'll appear in this movie. We don't know anything about the movie, like I said. Batman, The Doom That Came to Gotham is a 3-issue Elseworld story that came out in the year 2000, and it sets Batman's adventures in the H.P. Lovecraft-inspired world of the 1920s, with Lovecraftian versions of Batman's enemies. An animated film adaptation was confirmed at Comic-Con 2022, which we don't really know anything about as of yet. We don't know who's going to be playing this version of Batman, or if it's connected to any other universe, but we could probably assume that it's going to be an entirely standalone project with a different voice actor than the Tomorrowverse version of Bruce Wayne, who's played by Jensen Ackles, with also a completely different art style. We're sure to learn more about this movie in the future, but for now that's really all we know. We don't have a release date yet either, but if I were to guess, I'd probably say also in the second half of 2023. RWBY, or RWBY / Justice League, was a crossover comic book series released in 2021, which introduces RWBY versions of the Justice League, including Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Flash, Aquaman, Cyborg, and Jessica Cruz, with the villain being Starro. Now, I gotta admit, I don't really have a clue what RWBY is. In fact, I had no idea how to even pronounce it until looking it up. But after a bit of research, I understand that it's an anime-inspired but American web series about a world called Remnant, where people train to become huntsmen and huntresses to fight monsters called the Grimm. And yes, that was basically lifted directly from Wikipedia. This movie will almost certainly be a standalone, and I'd even assume that the movie will be a computer-generated art style, unlike most DC animated movies, since from what I've seen from RWBY, it is also a computer-generated anime, or at least an anime-inspired show, so we could expect something similar looking to Battle of the Super Sons. But since I don't really know anything about RWBY, and I don't really care about that, out of all of the DC movies coming out next year, this is the one I'm the least interested in. But if you like both the Justice League and RWBY and the comic book series that this movie will be based off of, this is probably something that will be good. I don't know. So that is it for all the movies coming out in 2023 from DC Comics. However, that's basically every single movie confirmed for the future, aside from Joker 2, which is confirmed for 2024, being the only movie confirmed beyond 2023. I'm assuming in the next few months, James Gunn will release his full slate from after 2023. But for now, Joker 2 is literally the only movie I didn't go over in this video, which is confirmed at all. But you probably know all you need to know about Joker already. Anyway, that's it for this video. Like I said, make sure to leave a like, share, and subscribe. Let me know which one of these movies you're most excited for. Thanks for watching, and bye.